Allen Company, 47 years young and a proud sponsor, wishes OOIDA all the best as you celebrate 50 years.
OOIDA, representing America's truckers since 1973, presents Landline Now with your host, Mark Reddick.
New broker fraud schemes are popping up every week. Today, Landline Now's Ashley Blackford will sit down with Tom Crowley of OOIDA's Business Services Department to talk about red flags to look out for and what you should do if you've fallen victim to broker fraud. Michigan is setting up what it calls the truck stop of the future, and electric truck charging is at the center of the project. I'll discuss what they're doing with Charlie Tyson of the Michigan Office of Future Mobility and Electrification. And finally, a situation regarding overweight fines in New York City could cost truckers a lot of money, and some questions are being raised. I'll get the details from OOIDA Director of State Government Affairs, Doug Morris. But first, the news with Ashley Blackford.
Thanks, Mark. $10 million is now available to repair statewide flood damage in Vermont. The U.S. Department of Transportation recently announced the immediate availability of $10 million in quick-release emergency funds for the Vermont Agency of Transportation. The funding is designed to help offset costs to repair infrastructure damaged by last month's flooding throughout the state. Catastrophic flash flooding and river flooding occurred across much of Vermont starting on July 7th and continued for weeks. The funding announced will be used to support clearing mud and rock slides from the roadway, opening plugged culverts, repairing culverts and eroded shoulders, clearing material deposited by floodwaters onto structures, making repairs to damaged roadways and structures, and repairing and replacing guardrails. A Canadian refinery is expanding to become the largest of its kind in the country. ExxonMobil announced it's increasing renewable fuel production at its Strathcona refinery in Edmonton. Once it's complete in 2025, it's expected to be the largest renewable diesel producer in Canada. In a news release, the company said it will use locally sourced feedstock and low-carbon hydrogen to produce renewable fuel that can be used to power existing diesel vehicles. A Canadian truck driver was arrested and charged recently with almost 900 pounds of cocaine. The U.S. Attorney's Office for the Western District of New York put out a release saying that the 37-year-old Ontario, Canada man was arrested and charged by criminal complaint with possession with intent to distribute and conspiracy to possess with the intent to distribute 5 kilograms or more of cocaine. The charges carry a mandatory minimum penalty of 10 years in prison, a maximum of life, and a $10 million fine. Nikola has recalled more than 200 battery electric trucks after results came in from the preliminary investigation of a truck fire that happened in June. A third-party investigator found that a coolant leak inside a single battery pack was found to be the probable cause of the truck fire at the company's headquarters in Phoenix, Arizona, that happened on June 23rd. In a recent press release, the company said after receiving the preliminary results of its battery pack investigations and as a precautionary measure, it would voluntarily recall approximately 209 Class 8 Tre battery electric vehicles. The release went on to say that additional information, updates, and required customer actions will be announced in the coming weeks. People in Oregon will now have the option to pump their own gas. Oregon was one of 2 states that had a ban on self-serve pumps. According to Oregon Public Broadcasting, back in 1951, legislators worried about fire safety and maintaining gas station attendant jobs. Earlier this month, Oregon's governor signed a bill that would allow people to have the choice whether or not they wanted to pump their own fuel. OPB reported that the bill won't put all of Oregon's gas station attendants out of work. Most counties will still have to employ an attendant and offer full-service pumps at all the same price. A short-line railroad holding company is exploring the idea of battery electric autonomous container cars. Trains.com reports that 2 Genesee and Wyoming short lines in Georgia recently asked the Federal Railroad Administration to allow them to conduct a pilot program that would test parallel systems zero-emissions autonomous container cars. The test would reportedly include battery electric cars which can run alone or coupled together as an autonomous train on portions of their lines. The company was quoted saying it believes the development and anticipated adoption of this technology has the potential to capture new container business moving to and from the Port of Savannah. Another round of SMART grants has been opened by the U.S. Department of Transportation. The Strengthening Mobility and Revolutionizing Transportation, or SMART, is a grant program that provides up to $500 million in grants over 5 years to conduct demonstration projects focused on advanced smart community technologies and systems that aim to improve both transportation efficiency and safety. The agency pointed out that this second SMART notice of funding opportunity is accepting applications for Stage 1 planning and prototyping grants, providing funding for efforts aimed at solving real-world transportation problems and focused on building data and technology capacity and experience for state, local, and tribal governments. A truck driver in Omaha, Nebraska is celebrating a milestone after he hit 5 million accident-free miles. KETV reports that Tim Dean became one of 2 drivers in his company to achieve 5 million accident-free miles. Dean has been driving for Werner Enterprises for 35 years and says he has no plans on retiring and could even see himself hitting the 6 million mile mark in 7 or 8 years. Georgia has reported the biggest revenue increase for July from gas sales. It's been just under 7 months since the state resumed collecting motor fuel taxes. WSB-TV reports that July revenue has a 13.1% net increase, according to state officials, while the non-fuel tax revenue was up just 5%. Governor Brian Kemp temporarily suspended the state's gas tax from March of 2022 to January of 2023 to help Georgians fight what he called a 40-year high inflation. The article states that from collections at the gas pump, Georgia earned $179.5 million more last month than in July of 2022. And finally, an Alaskan cyclist is looking to break a Guinness World Record for the longest distance cycling backwards. UPI reports that Will Walker recently took a 500-mile ride across the state of Iowa, all while looking over his shoulder. He said he started riding backwards about a decade ago. Now he's submitted evidence from his ride to the Guinness World Records to see if he can capture the record for the longest distance cycling backwards. That's Landline Now News for today. I'm Ashley Blackford.
Thanks, Ashley. Congratulations to Larry L. Gerhardt of Tucson, Arizona. He's received the OOIDA Safe Driving Award for 28 years of safe, accident-free driving. That's the equivalent of a car driver going 210 years without causing a single accident. The OOIDA Safe Driving Award program is sponsored by Charlottella, and if you're interested in receiving the Safe Driving Award, you can find a link to more information on our website, landlinenow.com. Again, that website, landlinenow.com. If you'd like to join OOIDA, you can do it at a discount. Just call the membership department during business hours at 816-229-5791. You can join the association or renew your membership for 2 years for $50, a $40 discount. OOIDA will offer its Truck to Success live seminar October 17th through the 19th at the Courtyard by Marriott in Blue Springs, Missouri. The 3-day in-depth training offers step-by-step guidance for truckers considering becoming owner-operators or moving on to their own authority. We'll have a link to where you can sign up and take the course at our website, landlinenow.com. Again, that website, landlinenow.com. Next, Ashley Blackford talks broker fraud with Tom Crowley of OOIDA's Business Services Department. I'll cover Michigan's upcoming Truck Stop of the Future with Charlie Tyson of the Michigan Office of Future Mobility and Electrification, and we'll hear about a change in overweight fines in New York City from OOIDA Director of State Government Affairs, Doug Morris. I'm Mark Reddick, and this is Landline Now.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to like and subscribe. If you want more content, go to landline.media to get updated news, information, and archived editions of our show. Once again, that's landline.media.
Forget miss accuracy, weigh your truck on a cat scale.
When you weigh on a cat scale, you get a no excuses guarantee. You can now save time weighing by using your smartphone. Find out more at weightmytruck.com.
Since you started, what you've loved about trucking is the freedom. Heading out on your favorite route, a good driving song, and thinking about truck insurance. Well, maybe not that last one, That's why we're here. At OOIDA, we have a full range of truck insurance products, expert advice, and great customer service, helping you get the right coverage for your operation. Go to OOIDA.com because your job is to drive. Our job is to help with everything else.
Landline Now, welcome back. Tom Crowley joins me now. He is the regulatory specialist in business services at the Owner-Operator Independent Drivers Association. Tom, thank you for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Today we are talking about broker fraud. I'm curious, what kind of issues are you seeing in business services when it comes to broker fraud right now?
You know, Ashley, the crazy thing is every day there's a new scam coming around. I mean, whether it's the actual broker is an imposter, has got their authority from the FMCSA, throw a few dollars up for a bond, and they operate for 3 months until they get, till enough people find out about them, or whether it's an imposter has taken a carrier's information and they're out there booking loads under this carrier and then double brokering them out to other unsuspecting carriers. I mean, every day there's a new scam that's coming out. It's just almost impossible to keep up on it.
How do you keep up on it?
How we keep up on it is one thing. I mean, because we have the time to go through these things and kind of figure them out. Mm-hmm. But the problem is the carriers out there. They don't have that time. They don't have somebody working behind the scenes, 24/7 to figure this stuff out. They go to a load board and they see a good load that they say, hey, man, I get this load. It looks like it pays good. It goes where I want to go. It'll make my money right. Boy, this will help out. They don't have somebody behind the scenes all the time, digging through this, or most of them don't. It's hard to keep up on. It's getting more and more difficult to spot. Once upon a time you could go through there and you could pick out stuff. Well, the English wasn't quite right, the grammar wasn't right, the punctuation. You could pick out stuff like that, but these scammers have got way past that. Mm-hmm. I mean, they've got the same programs that I've got on my computer that correct my verbiage when I put it in there and punctuation. So it's getting more and more difficult, and it's costing small carriers. It's costing them everything.
What advice do you have for our members?
Well, there's the issue that most of our members or most small carriers pull a lot of their freight off of load boards, the public load boards. They have to do that. I mean, you have to have freight on your truck. But I'd say a lot of it is when you go to these load boards, if you're pulling, and I'm going to throw out a brand name here, Amazon. If you're going to pull an Amazon load and you're pulling it off a load board, but you're not pulling it from Amazon, you can guarantee it's at very least double brokered, if not fraudulently brokered, and you'll never get paid. I mean, now, you may get paid if it's double brokered, if it's somebody that, I'm not going to say an ethical double broker, but if there are some people that double broker loads, and they do pay on them. They want to take a skim off the top, and then they'll pay on them. So is it one of those, or is it one of these that you're just not going to get paid? I mean, I talked to a guy this morning, my first call this morning. He had pulled 2 back-to-back Amazon loads not from Amazon. And the first one, he picked it up and delivered it. It was short haul, I think like 400 miles. So he picked it up, delivered it. Everything is fine as far as he knew. The second one, he picked it up and delivered it the same place. It was the same pickup, same delivery. But when he got to the Amazon lot, they said, hey, this load's not supposed to go here. It's supposed to go to another facility several hundred miles away. And he's like, well, wait, no, well, Amazon, the guard, they took the load in because they could see immediately there was some fraud going on here. Mm-hmm. So they did take the load in, and they will probably have a legitimate carrier redeliver that load. But for the guy I talked to this morning, those are 2 loads that he's not going to get paid on.
Wow.
There's no bond to file on. There's nothing. I mean, and if the folks out there that do haul for Amazon or have hauled some of this stuff, they know you can't just call Amazon up and say, hey, what's going on with this load? Mm-hmm. There's nobody to call. So I would say the advice would be, if you're going to haul an Amazon load, only haul it for Amazon. Mm-hmm. If you're going to haul, and there's other examples too. JB Hunt's got a load board. You can go to their load board and get JB Hunt loads. or C.H. Robin loads. You can go to their load board and get C.H. Robin's loads. If you're pulling these loads off of the load boards, I don't even know how vigilant you can be to stop the scams that are going on, because they're just hard to figure out. I mean, I get folks that send me in the paperwork, and I look at it, and I've been doing this stuff since the 80s. I've been trucking since way back when, and I've seen untold thousands of rate cons and contracts and all this. This stuff is hard to pick out. I mean, I look at it and am looking for ways that I can tell the carriers to watch for. And as of today, I don't think you could for sure 100% pick out every fraudulent load and separate them from the real loads.
Wow.
It's bad out there.
How important is it if any of our members, fall victim to a scam, to call business services to let you guys know?
You can always call the compliance department. I mean, we are trying to keep up on this stuff and keep tabs on the way the scammers are going. I mean, and they do every day. They come up with something new. We do want that information. The other things that you need to do is you do need to report this to the FMCSA, to the Inspector General's office also. I mean, if you go to the FMCSA's website, which I think we've got this on our site also, it talks about broker and carrier fraud and identity theft. And really, that is what we're talking about, is identity theft, because most of these scams are perpetuated by the fact that there's an entity out there that pretends to be a legitimate broker, that pretends to be a legitimate carrier, to get these loads to secure them, to double broker them out, and then not pay. So while I don't think the FMCSA does near enough to battle this, they do have some information on their website that talks about, how to report it and who to report it to. I mean, they start with, report it to your local law enforcement agency, which I question that, because I don't know how Mayberry, Barney Fife is going to deal with a multi-state scam. But that's what they say. And then go on up the line, to the Office of Inspector General. Hit them. The FMCSA has the NCCDB, the National Consumer Complaint Database website, where you can report this stuff. And it goes on to say, contact your insurance company, make social media posts and website posts, to your customers. Make sure your company's phone numbers, and this is a big one. This is a new one that we've seen, is where the MCS 150s have been compromised. Small carriers really need to, on a regular basis, if not every day, at least every week, go to the FMCSA's website, pull up their information, and make sure it's accurate.
Yeah. And like you said, I mean, it's hard to spot. Do you find tactics change often, or when you do see kind of a scheme going on, is it usually the same?
It's the same, as though, the fraud is continuing to happen. The way that it's carried out, that changes, because when you get a hold of the way they're doing it today, and you're able to put the word out and kind of maybe put a stop or a slowdown to that direction. These folks are sitting out there. They've got nothing to do all day long but to figure out what direction they're going to go next, how to scam the next people. I mean, and when that is your life, is just how to scam people and how to get better at doing what you're doing. Well, they're pretty good at it. And from the discussions that I've had with different folks in the industry, we've had discussions with the FMCSA, with some of the public load boards that are out there, with some of the brokers and some of the way they're getting scammed. I mean, I used to say this is a carrier issue, that the carriers are getting scammed. But the brokers are getting scammed as far as the fact that their loads are getting stolen. Their loads get redirected. If you're hauling a load and halfway through that load you get a call from the supposed broker and they redirect you, you better start looking at that one real careful, because you're probably being unwittingly involved in some type of a theft situation, where they're going to redirect that load to another warehouse where they'll unload it, and you'll think everything's good. You got a signed bill of lading. You'll turn it into your factoring company, expect to get paid. only to find out a couple of days later your factoring company wants that money back because that load was stolen, it never delivered, and you're like, no, I got a signed bill of lading. That signed bill of lading, you used to think that meant something. If you got a signed bill of lading, you're good to go. Not anymore, not with these scams going on. You have a signed bill of lading, turn it into your factoring company. A few days later, they come back on you and want that money back because it was all a scam. Not only are you out the fuel, the time, the effort that it took you to deliver that load, but now you got to give the money back to your factoring company because, they're not going to be out the money. And these people that think that, I got a non-recourse factor. That's funny. It's all recourse. If the factor doesn't get paid, they're coming back to you.
What recommendations do you have for someone who's in a situation like you just mentioned, and they do get the call to redirect? What should they do?
Again, go back and start checking out that broker. Don't just call the number that the broker gave you on the rate con. Go to the FMCSA's website, put their MC number in, put their name in, come up with the number independently of the information that you were given by that broker. Go to their website, to the actual website that you know to be true. Start doing your checking, because if you're getting redirected, mid-flight, there's probably something up. You may or may not have any inkling that anything's going on. Or, unfortunately, a lot of the folks that I talk to, they say, I had a gut feeling about this. Listen to your gut.
Yep.
If your gut's saying it's not right, it's probably not right. It's rampant out there. And, in the last year, it has gotten so much worse. I mean, there's always been fraud in the industry. There's always been scammers out there, double brokers, and so on and so forth. I hear a lot about some of the folks in the industry want to say, well, you got to know and trust your broker. Only work with ethical, trusted brokers. And you know where I go with that. Ethical, trusted brokers. These are the same brokers that you hauled for last month, and it was no problem. And now this month they say, well, we can't use you because you don't have any inspections, roadside inspections. But they know you, but that doesn't matter. Or the same brokers that trusted, ethical brokers, the same ones that won't follow the FMCSA regulations, 371.3C about transparency. The same trusted, ethical brokers. I'm not even sure how that works.
Yeah.
But I won't go too far on that one.
And just lastly, what kind of final piece of advice do you have for our listeners?
You just can't say it enough. Vet the brokers. The brokers are vetting you, and they're, giving you all kinds of a rough time. You keep your equipment up so you don't get pulled over by DOT. Well, you got to get pulled over by DOT and get roadside inspections, or they won't load you. So they're vetting you. They're going all kinds of ways. They're looking at your information on Safer. They're going to websites. They're using these carrier vetting programs. I won't name their name. I'm not going to give them that kind of time, but they're vetting you. You have to be vetting them. And don't take anybody's word for anything. Find a way to independently verify and check to make sure they're who they are. Because, ultimately, the carrier is the one that gets taken on this stuff. I'm not going to say nobody else gets hurt. There are others that get injured. But it's the carrier that spends a week to deliver that load, puts all the fuel in, wear and tear on their vehicle, sleepless nights, all this stuff to get that stuff where it needs to be to not get paid.
Yeah.
And double whammy, then they got to give the money back to their factor. It's bad.
All right. Tom, thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
That was Tom Crowley with Business Services at OOIDA. If you have any questions, you can call 816-229-5791. For Landline Now, I'm Ashley Blackford. Stay tuned for more after this.
You trust PrePass for more bypasses? Now let PrePass help with tolls. PrePass toll service means lower cost, one invoice for all tolls, and fewer violations. Created by truckers for truckers. Call 877-878-5970 or go to prepass.com.
Attention all truckers, Dean Michael, the tax doctor here. I want to talk to you about those dreaded tax problems. I know you want to keep on trucking and not even think about them, but let's face it, they're not going away all on their own. You need professional help. I've been helping truckers put their tax problems in the rearview mirror for years. I can help you too. Call me now for a free consultation at 888-557-4020 or go to mytaxhelpmd.com. It's like I always say, keep your eyes on the road, I'll keep mine on the IRS. 888-557-4020.
Michigan is setting up what it calls the truck stop of the future, and electric truck charging is at the center of it. You're listening to Landline Now, and I'm your host, Mark Reddig. Welcome back to the program. The truck stop is the result of a partnership that involves the Michigan Economic Development Corporation, electric utility DTE, and Daimler Trucks North America, among others. Charlie Tyson, Technology Activations Director with the Office of Future Mobility and Electrification, a state agency, spoke with me recently about the project.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Michigan's Truck Stop of the Future, which was recently announced, is an initiative, a signature project here in the state of Michigan, supported by the Office of Future Mobility and Electrification, the Michigan Economic Development Corporation, the Department of Labor and Economic Opportunity, and other partners in state government, working alongside industry. So our main industry partners are Daimler Truck North America and DTE Energy, our large utility provider in Michigan. So really what this is a real-world prototype to help companies transition their fleets of commercial vehicles to alternative fuels that largely focused on electric commercial vehicles of all classes. In addition to just providing that accessible charging infrastructure that will enable the transition to electric fleets, this truck stop of the future, this location, this physical asset will be a place where companies and community stakeholders can begin testing new business models, digital services, other types of products and technologies that will support what a truck stop will look like as we see the emergence of clean fueled commercial vehicles. So this is just a really great example of how Michigan is a place where we build things, we make things here. We try to support our communities to make them friendly to businesses, but also residents. So this site will also consist of passenger vehicle charging stations that will be available for the public as well, in addition to the initial 9 commercial vehicle charging stations focused on commercial fleets.
You mentioned earlier that this will be a prototype. Is this something that's strictly a test environment, or is this going to be something that will be practically in use for actual vehicles right off the bat? Right.
Yeah, and when I say prototype, I guess I'll clarify there. This will be commercially available. This is the main first phase of this, leveraging both state, private sector, and federal funding will be the construction of this 3.5 to 4 acre site in Redford, Michigan, that will be available, essentially putting in charging infrastructure, high-speed chargers for commercial fleets. So it won't be a prototype. It will be available for use. But when we talk about it being a truck stop of the future, in addition, like I mentioned, to just having the charging infrastructure available, we also want to use this environment to test new technologies related to truck stops and how they might change as we see innovation continue to take place. So, some examples of different innovations that could be tested at this site, adjacent to the commercial fleets being charged, could be, on-site power generation storage, micro fulfillment, contactless robot delivery devices, smart kiosks, telehealth or mini pharmacies, for example, mini nap stations with soundproof for truck drivers. Those are just some examples of things that based on what industry and the trucking industry is interested in testing, validating, and hopefully scaling. We want this environment to be a place where that can be done.
I'm curious why the organizations, both in state government and private industry, chose to undertake this project at that location right now. What is the reason for the timing?
Yeah, so I think the big thing was, in general, the Midwest, Southeast Michigan is a key logistics hub. There's significant amount of logistic traffic, vehicles delivering goods through Southeast Michigan, and we're starting to see industry adopt these new technologies, electric vehicle technologies that various state agencies in Michigan are getting behind and supporting, not only from a environmental sustainability standpoint, but from an economic development standpoint. So that Michigan Economic Development Corporation is keenly focused on making Michigan a place that has unique assets that others might not, where companies can come to work with local partners, to work with the local workforce, and to grow their businesses. So the interest, the state is really keenly focused on not only providing safer, greener, and more accessible transportation infrastructure, but we want to work on transitioning and growing our mobility industry and our workforce. So when this project opportunity came up, it really fell in line with the state of Michigan's mobility goals on multiple levels. Having the private sector is critical to move things forward, right? So Daimler Truck North America has this site that will be publicly available. DTE Energy is very engaged in all things electric vehicles and renewable energy in Michigan. And so it was a bit of a match made in heaven, having the state, private sector, and the utility provider come together with a shared goal. And then we were just very fortunate to receive the federal USDOT grant to help put this into action.
I'm kind of curious in terms of what audience you're looking at, and specifically here looking at large trucks. Obviously, with just one stop, it doesn't practically work for long haul because they would need multiple stops across a whole highway system. Are you looking at this point at short haul or local operations or port operations? What is your target audience in terms of large trucks?
Yeah, in short, we definitely would like this, EV infrastructure asset to support all types of, fleet operations. I think near term we will see fleets that have short haul or stay more local be the primary users of the charging infrastructure. But as we work with other communities to put in additional EV charging infrastructure throughout Michigan and working with other states in the Midwest, building corridors of EV charging for both passenger and commercial fleets, we do see the need to. We do see this site being a valuable asset to even long haul trucking. But near term, local fleets, school districts, transit agencies, and then the public that do have electric vehicles can use the available charging as well.
Where does this go from here? I mean, obviously, you're very early on in the process. This is just a prototype location, even though it is commercially available. Are you hoping to see more private industry investment in large truck charging? Is there a plan for more public funding or public-private partnerships? What's your where do you see this going from here?
Yeah, so we see this as like one important project among others that are either in the works or upcoming that align with the state of Michigan's economic development goals, environmental sustainability goals. So we are the core team working on this project, the Office of Future Mobility and Electrification, Daimler, Truck North America, and DTE Energy, we're staying closely engaged with our other state partners, the Michigan Infrastructure Office, that is really taking lead on a lot of the federal funding coming in for, electric vehicle or alternative fueled vehicle infrastructure. We have other state partners like the Department of Environment, Great Lakes and Energy, Eagle, and then of course the MEDC as well. So there's some other efforts that are looking at hydrogen or hydrogen hubs that would also incorporate EV charging stations. This site in Redford, this initial project, we're also looking at other types of alternative fuels, low carbon fuels, but it will be the primary focus will be on electric vehicle charging infrastructure. So we see this being one key node amongst others that are being worked on with other types of partners. And then also, moving forward with into 2024, consistently looking at how state funding can support Michigan fleets that want to transition to alternative fuels or electric vehicles, pursuing federal funding opportunities, and then really staying engaged closely with industry to see where investment opportunities might come from the private sector that we can leverage as well. So there's definitely a lot of different aspects to this, but we're pretty excited about the opportunity to become a leader in freight and freight innovation. And we see this as just one key step to get us to a place, where we have a pole position as far as goods delivery, innovation, economic development opportunities, and environmental sustainability.
Well, Charlie, that's all I have. Is there anything else that you'd like to add or that you think it's important for people to know about this project?
Yeah. I would just say that it's really exciting to work on this key infrastructure project to support electric vehicles in the commercial vehicle market. But what really gets me excited about this is the opportunity to support entrepreneurship, working with local universities and academia and workforce related to this specific project, working to continue to make Michigan a place where companies want to expand, to relocate, and to grow by making this environment here at the Redford project a place where they can't really find anywhere else. So I think that it is a big thing for us here in Michigan, is just continue to push the fact that we are, one of the best places really in the world to build, deploy, and provide unique services to Michigan residents. And we think that's going to benefit both economic development output and also the importance of reducing carbon emissions.
Fantastic. Charlie, thank you very much for your time. I certainly appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate it.
Once again, that was Charlie Tyson, Technology Activations Director with the Office of Future Mobility and Electrification, a state agency in Michigan, talking about a proposed truck stop of the future that would serve as a charging station for electric trucks. A spokesman for the Michigan Economic Development Corporation says the truck stop is planned to be in operation in late 2024 or early 2025. It'll be located at a Daimler Trucks North America facility in Redford, Michigan, near Interstate 96. The location is not far from the major border crossing at the Ambassador Bridge. Daimler said in a release that more than 10,000 trucks pass through that area daily, and that Michigan accounts for 30% of all truck and rail freight between the United States and Canada. In addition, the facility in Redford is already equipped with the electric capacity necessary to power the charging station. The mobility charging hub and the truck stop at the future development are intended to support the state's MI Future Mobility Plan Governor Gretchen Whitmer announced in September of 2022. Landline Now will be back in a moment.
Firestone tires are for more of everything. More miles for every tire dollar, and more confidence in your fleet. At Firestone, we help fleets save with dependable value. Find your local Firestone dealer today at firestonetire.com/dealer.
Ready to make more money? Use a better load board. For a limited time, get 50% off Truckstop Loadboard Pro. Just go to truckstop.com/go and enter promo code READY2023 when you purchase Loadboard Pro.
It's tested and proven. Burn 2.1% less fuel when you balance all wheel ends with Centromatic. Call 800-523-8473 to get the OOIDA discount.
Landline Now. Welcome back. A situation regarding overweight fines in New York City could cost truckers a lot of money, and some questions are being raised. Here with the details is OOIDA Director of State Government Affairs, Doug Morris. Doug, how you doing?
Hey, Mark, how are you?
Very well. This involves traffic on one highway right now. Why don't you go ahead and tell us which highway this is and what's going on there?
Yeah, so right now it's the Brooklyn-Queens Expressway, which is the part that's owned by the city, which is the portion of the bridge which is from Atlantic Avenue to Sand Street. And what they've done is they put weigh motions there, and weigh motions are not very accurate. Most states have been trying for years to enforce on weigh motion scales, but they found that it doesn't fall within the standards of either the National Institute of Standards and Technology or the American Society for Testing and Materials. Yeah, for some reason, and this fell through the cracks for us. I mean, we try to look out for state legislation, and legislation was passed this year and signed by the governor in July, and it had to deal with weights, calibrations. That's probably why it fell through the cracks for us. And it basically, they went from the testing criteria from the American Society for Testing and Materials standard specifications to what they call now prescribed pursuant to a memorandum of agreement between the New York City Department of Transportation and the New York State Department of Agriculture and Markets, or in accordance with an applicable reference standard as determined by the New York City Department of Transportation, which is totally way out there. I mean, this is, and to be honest with you, Mark, we had heard several months ago, actually back beginning of the year, a lot of states were saying, we're involved in a lot of different committees where there are state officials, DOT officials, and we had heard that a lot of states are really looking at ways of raising money because of New York because transit numbers have gone way down. COVID numbers, COVID relief money is not there anymore, and a lot of these cities are looking for money to supplement that. And we know in New York City that the shortfall for New York Transit this year was close to $600 million. And they have to come up that money somewhere. And this is the harebrained scheme, I think, that they're using to try to supplement that money. And what is going to happen is this. Right now, August 10th until I believe it's November 10th, any tractor trailer or that goes across the BQE that's overweight, 80,000 gross vehicle weight, will get a warning in the mail. Come November 10th, if they go across that same stretch of land and they're over 8,000 pounds, they'll get a letter in the mail with a violation, and it's going to cost $650.
Now, that's an interesting thing there. Now, does that fine change depending on the weight, or is it just if you're overweight at all, it's $650?
No, according to their website, it's anything as long as you're over the 80,000 gross vehicle weight. And actually, if you go to New York City DOT website on weigh in motion, they actually have in there as well that they will they could charge for axle weights, but every correspondence we've seen come out in regards to this, it's been over the gross weight. And it's you could be 500 pounds over or 5,000 pounds over. Who knows? It might be 10 pounds over. We don't know. We'll have to see what happens when they start sending these warning letters out.
Now, by my figuring, that's just under $1.1 million a day in ticket revenue based on their numbers. What sort of numbers are they saying that they think they have in terms of overweight vehicles on that road?
Well, New York City DOT says that within a 24-hour period of time, in excess of 15,000 tractor trailers go over that bridge. Of that number, they estimate that 1,650 are in violation of the weight limits. So that's 650 violations a day at $650. You can pretty much figure out what kind of money that is. It's huge. And the bottom line is this. The weigh motions are not accurate at all. I mean, you can send one truck over there at 6 o'clock in the morning saying weighing 80,000 pounds, send the same truck over there at 11 o'clock at night and it weigh 80,500. It depends on how fast the truck is going, the vibration of the bridge, the vibration of the truck, weather, if it's raining, snowing, what have you. There's a lot of factors and variables that can change the weight limit of a truck. And it could be legal going across there, but the weigh in motion will put it as being overweight. It just makes no sense. Well, it makes sense to them because they're going to make all kind of money, but it makes no sense to people in industry and trucking. It's just a tax on the trucking, and just to put an arbitrary number of $650, it's just insane.
Well, let's ask a devil's advocate question here. Do we know if they really have a substantial problem with overweight vehicles on that road, or is this simply a revenue raiser?
Well, you would think if that was the case, they'd have the New York Truck Enforcement Division out there all the time weighing these trucks. Yeah, overweight trucks go across there. Yeah, the overweight trucks go across every bridge in the United States. And not only that, they're looking at. I talked to some folks in DOT that they're looking to expanding this to other bridges. And it says in the New York City DOT website that regardless of whether you have a permit or not, if you're overweight or the weight limits, not regarding the permit, you're still going to get a fine. So if you have a permit for a lot of trucks go across, you have a permit for 90,000, you're still going to get a fine in the mail. And it's based on, they run across the WIMS. They also have tag readers that read the tags, and you'll get the fine in the mail. It's just, and if you fight this, you have to go to what's called the Bureau of Parking Enforcement. It doesn't go to a judge in a courtroom. It goes to the Bureau of their Parking Enforcement. It's just a situation where it's obvious. It is totally obvious they just want to put a tax on truckers coming in there, and it's all it's going to do is make the folks that want to go in New York or deliver in New York not want to deliver there. And not only that, it's going to just push the rates way up for people going into New York City because they're going to have to supplement that cost of possibly getting a $650 overweight ticket.
Why the initial focus on that particular highway?
They're saying it's because of the deterioration of the bridge, but there's deterioration of all bridges in the United States. We know that the infrastructure has for years been falling apart. The DOT monies, highway monies have been deferred to other things other than what it's supposed to. If we would have used all the money that we've used over the years for things that were supposed to be for state highway and bridge reconstruction and maintenance, we wouldn't have these problems. But obviously we have these problems. And to be honest with you, talking to the folks in New York City or different other states, transit is a big thing, and they're looking for monies to supplement that loss in revenue in transit. They've lost ridership, they lost COVID relief funds, and there's especially in New York, they have people that don't even pay the fare and they jump fare jumpers. They actually stated that at one of the meetings we had not too long ago. Fare jumpers was a big problem. So, I mean, they have to figure out ways to supplement these losses that and they're not going to raise taxes with the people in the city. Most often not. They look for fees and ways to charge people who are coming into the city, especially with truckers. We're an open bank account for them. Let's go after the truckers.
I'm kind of curious. I mean, obviously the solution for a trucker would be if there's an alternate route to this highway to take it. But is there a practical alternate route to the BQE?
Not really. And like I said, they are looking at, they're saying that these other alternate routes, they're putting these WIMs in place now, and they should be in a place by the summer of next year, from what I'm hearing from DOT officials in New York there. So they're looking at every avenue coming into that city to just tax truckers who are supposedly overweight.
Well, Doug, is there anything else you want to add or anything else we need to let people know about this?
Yeah, I think after this 90-day period, I think if you go into New York, make sure you have a weight bill, make sure you're within the legal limits. And, I know a lot of these commercial scales say, hey, if you have a weight bill from us and you get a weight ticket, we'll pay the fine, or, look out for you in court or what have you. You might want to look at those avenues because I see a lot of problems ahead.
Okay. Doug, thank you very much for all the information. We certainly appreciate it.
Thank you.
I've been talking with OOIDA Director of State Government Affairs, Doug Morris. And folks, this is the part of the show where we always talk about calling your member of Congress. But something else you need to think about is calling your state lawmakers about issues like this one and other things that affect you on the state level. If you want to get contact information for your state lawmakers, you can do it by going to the website fightingfortruckers.com. Just scroll down on the main page to where it says Find Officials and enter your zip code. The site will look up information for your federal and state elected officials. And you can also write a letter right there on the website. Meanwhile, if you do want to call your member of Congress about any of these important issues, you can do that by calling the U.S. Capitol switchboard at 202-224-3121. That's our show for today. Thank you for joining us. I'm Mark Rettig, and this is Landline Now.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to like and subscribe. If you want more content, go to landline.media to get updated news, information, and archived editions of our show. Once again, that's landline.media.
I'm a dad,
a son,
a husband,
wife,
I'm a writer,
photographer.
I farm.
I'm a veteran.
I love old cars, fishing,
my kids,
chrome,
and I am
a professional truck driver.
And together we are OOIDA.
OOIDA was founded by truckers to stand up and speak on behalf of truckers. We've done that by combining the individual voices of our members into a single, powerful voice. Protecting your interests, defending your rights.
Join us! Make your voice heard. Join OOIDA, the Owner-Operator Independent Drivers Association. Call 1-800-444-5791 or visit OOIDA.com.